as I was saying, I believe and I hope that everyone has installed TypeScript globally on their system. So what I'm just gonna do here, I'm just gonna do the first of all the variable declarations, and then we're gonna do the classes and the functions, and then we're gonna import our classes, export and import. So first of all, uh, variable declaration in TypeScript. Uh, declarations. So I'm just gonna show you how to declare variables in TypeScript. So we're gonna have the one. I'm just gonna name it names. Then it should take a string. It's a name. Then we can have another one, say name, and then this one can take any. This one, any property, like you can set any value to it. It can be a string, a float, or number. So this one you can assign it anything that you want. And then we have again, let's say total, then this one we call it number. So this one, it only takes number, it takes decimals and floats. So you can set those things on the number property and integer values. So then again we have a string and any number. Then we can have maybe something, we can call it a relationship. We can create a variable called a relationship that will determine the status of your relationship, whether you are in a relationship or not. So in this case we will have something like a boolean. So a boolean, which we know boolean, it's true or false, 1 or 0. So we know this our boolean. And then now we can go and declare an array. We can call our array students, and then we can give it any type, like it can take any type that we want, which it's an array. So this is how we declare an array. So our array, it can contain it can contain a string, it can contain anything that you want, So this is our array, like anything that you want, it's any. And then we can have another array, which I can call it subtotal. So this one, it takes a property of number. So in this one, we already know, since it's a number, it means like it must only contain the decimals and the numbers and the floats. So this is how you declare your array. And then again, there's this one that is called okay, first let's declare a constant. Then we can declare a constant. This is how to declare a constant. We can label it as we can maybe let's call it max. So we know constant, they don't change. Like this is how you do your constant. It's a constant value. Average, it's a constant value, meaning it doesn't change. This is how to declare constant. And then in TypeScript they have another one called enum. So this one, what it does, it's not different from what we call array. So you can declare like many variables. You can say, okay, enum, then we want to name it subject. So inside the subject, what we can have like SPAD, and then we can have like English, and then we can have like the last one, we can say maybe it's other. So I'm gonna show you how to access the properties of this enum. So to access them, you can go to, can say you can declare a new variable, call it let sub. I'm gonna call it subject. Then let subject equals to, then we call in this one. So we're gonna say subject. So dot. So it automatically shows me what is inside our subject property, like the values inside here. So automatically like other, and then there's a PD and blah blah. So these ones automatically they take the value of 0. So we can go and take, we want English. So this is how to access these variables inside the enum. So you can go here and say this one maybe is 2, then goes in, then this one is go to 10, blah blah, as you continue. So this is how we do the variable declaration in TypeScript. So I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna say, let's do this. Let's say since we have a let and we have var, so I'm gonna show you the difference between the let and the var. So in this case, we're gonna declare a function get details. So our function is called get details, and it doesn't receive any argument, so it's called details. So inside this function we're gonna create a for loop. So first of all, I'm gonna start with the let, or maybe var. Let me start with var. So we're gonna say var I equals to 0, then it must loop up until it's less than 7, and then I must increment, and then yeah. So we can go here and say console.log. So now we are accessing this I. So I'm showing you that you can access this parameter that we created. This parameter is inside the for loop, but still we can access it inside the for loop. So now we want to access it outside the for loop. We're accessing the parameter I that we created outside the for loop. So yeah, I'm just showing how var and the let is going to work. So we're gonna say console.log, and then we're gonna say I. You see now, like we can access this I outside the for loop, regardless whether we did it clear. So meaning that if it's still inside the function, this I is being declared as a global variable. So now let's go and say and try to declare it using the let property. We say let, and then now we say let, and now you can see like you cannot access this variable outside the for loop. So meaning this one, it can only be accessed inside here only. So outside this for loop we cannot access this. So this is the difference between the let and the var. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to say we remove this, or maybe we cannot remove it. Let's just leave it, but I'm going to comment this one out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to create a class, and then we export that class. We can export it, and then we can use the constructors inside our class. So constructor, it only works inside the class, so it only works to access the properties from a different file. So we can go here and say we declare a class. Maybe let's say let's call it info. This is the class that has info, and then inside our class we can create an array. We can say okay, can create an array. Okay. Okay. Then we can create an array. We can go here and say student. So this one is going to introduce you to many things, like I'm going to show you how to use arrow functions and this function. So those who did C# and then C++, they know that this function, how it works. So we're gonna go here and say declare a new you can call it maybe an array. Let's say student info. It's an array that contains student info. So inside this our array, we're gonna give it any property of any. So we're gonna create an array, say array, then we're gonna have this, say. So here I'm showing you how to do an array actually, in other words. So it's a class, and then we have an array inside the class. So first of all, we're gonna have an ID. So an ID, we know it's a property that differentiates users. So every person has its own ID. Like even now we are logged in on the Google Classroom, so every person has a different ID so that they can like be able to access the individual data than to be like collected at once. So meaning we are different from our ID. So we're gonna have an ID, gonna have like a random numbers there, and then we're gonna have like a name, and then name I'm gonna call it it's me, it's Tyson. Then we're gonna go I forgot the annotations, and the annotations there. Then we can go and say bio, I am Tyson and I love food. So this is how we declare an array. So we have an array there which contains student information. Our array contains student information. From here, now we have an array. So what I'm gonna do next, let's close it here. I'm gonna create a function to access the array. A function to access our array. So we're gonna go here and say so remember that in JavaScript, how you do the function, we start with function, and then start with function, then name of the function, get blah blah, and then everything, and so. But in TypeScript we don't do such. We just write the name of the function. We can say get details, then it doesn't receive any argument since we are not passing any argument inside. And then this is the function that we are passing, is the function that we just created. And then our function is going to have what? Is going to have this. So here we're going to use these functions to access this student info. So we're going to go to our function and say return. Our function, we know that function must return something. So this function is going to return student info. You see, it automatically added this dot student info. So we're gonna close it. So now we returned the student info. We know like inside this class what we have the get details, and then we have the student info. You can go here and again, and then maybe create variables or create an interface. So you can go here and create an interface or variables, but I'm going to show you interface as we move on, not now. So I'm just going to show you how it's done. It's simple interface. and then it's same as classes. Yeah, they are easy. So now I'm going to show you how to access this class inside this same folder that we're using. So we're gonna go here and say accessing our class. So we're gonna create maybe and say we're gonna create maybe get data parameter that get these details. So our new parameter is gonna get the information from this class. So we're gonna say let get data equals to the name of the class. The name of the class, as we check, is this one. So we're gonna create a new name of the class info. Name of the class, it's info. So it's there. Then we say close brackets, and then that. This is how you access this the class. So we can just go here and say maybe console.log, and then you can say get get data, then we write dot, and then see immediately when I said dot, it shows me what it's inside that class, because now we have given our class a new name. The new name of that class is get data. So inside that class we have the get details and student information. So this is how you access the class inside the same file you're working on. So we can go here and say, oh no, we want to get data. Get data, we know it's a function, so okay, get data. So this is how you access that class. Or you want to access this info, you can do the same thing, and then now you are good to go. Now you know, okay, this is how I access my class and everything. So okay, before I continue, any question? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. Then I remember I'm recording this. You're gonna receive it. So now let's go and say we want to access this class inside this file, the list.ts. So we want to access this file inside here. This class, we want to access it inside here. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna say okay. We're gonna export this class. Export. We're exporting this class. Export that class. Then we're gonna say okay. Since we're exporting the class, then we are going here now. You can say okay. You say import. We are importing that class. Import. Then the name of the class. The name of the class it's info. So now we go back here and write info. Now it automatically imported that class. You see that class is from dot test. So the class is inside the text file. So this is how you import the class. You import it, then you export, then you import it in this fashion. Import the name of the class. From it wants the path of that file, where your file sits. Then that's all you can access it. So now we can go here and say maybe let's create the class this side. The class get info. We're creating a new class inside here. Then our class, we want our class to have because we want to access everything from this class. So we're gonna go here and say maybe you can even do it the way I did it here. You can go and do it the same way I did it, but we're gonna go here and say no, we don't want to use that. We want to use the constructor now, since we will be working with the constructors inside our Angular and our Ionic moving forward. So we're creating a constructor. So our constructor, we want to access this. So we're gonna create a new variable. Our new variable, we say okay, it's public. You can say it public, or you can say it's private. You can name it private, or you can name it public, but I prefer to use public, since we all know, like, everything which is public can be accessed anyway, so we say it's public. So I'm gonna write it, say public, and say a new variable is data, and then semicolon. Then I'm getting this one. So I'm equating my classes to a new data, the one that I created, which is info, like this. So this is the same as this. You get it? So what I did there is the same as this, but in that case, I used a constructor. So I'm gonna go back here and say, okay, now we can go and maybe we want to access information from this class. We can go and say get list. Then we're creating a new function that's gonna get maybe we create a new variable, then students info. We create a new variable, we call it any, we name it as any. Then that variable we're gonna go here and then say student info equals to data dot. You see, immediately I say dot, it shows me what it's inside that class. So now I can access everything from that class we created in that file called test.ts. So I can say, okay, I want to access the array, or I want to access get details, anything that I want. Okay, I want to access the get details function, or I want to access the student. In this case, I want the student. So I got the student array here. So meaning now we can go and display it, or we can go and console it. It will show that array. So this is how we do the classes, and then how you do your what we call the variable declaration, and then accessing arrays and importing your classes. Yeah, so I will show you more things as we continue, but now, okay, before we move on, any questions?
No questions.
All right. Since we don't have any question, we're gonna go on and create a new Angular project. I'm gonna go and create a new Angular project. I'm gonna go create a new Angular project. Then I'm gonna say go to desktop. Then clear. Then ng new. Then test. I'm gonna write it test 3. 3. So we're gonna apply these things inside our Angular now. Let's give it some time.